Before we start, take a moment to like and subscribe. Imagine a king so ridiculously powerful he rules over 127 provinces. From modern-day India all the way to Ethiopia. This is King Xerxes, and he decides to throw a 6-month-long party to show off his wealth and power. At the climax of the festivities, he's feeling pretty good about himself and makes a bold, very public request. He orders his wife, Queen Vashti, to appear before his drunken officials to parade her beauty. But Vashti, an independent and strong-willed woman, says no. Just a simple, clear, and very final no. King Xerxes, mortified in front of his friends, consults his advisors, who panic. If word gets out that the queen refused the king's order, every woman in the kingdom will get ideas. So, to save face and set an example, the king fires Vashti and sends out a decree that she is no longer queen. Now, King Xerxes needs a new queen, and the hunt is on. Here's where our hero enters the picture. Meet Hadassah, a young Jewish orphan living in the capital city of Susa. She's being raised by her older cousin Mordecai, a kind and dedicated man who works at the king's gate. When the call goes out for beautiful young women to be brought to the palace for a royal beauty pageant to find the next queen, Hadassah is taken, despite her and Mordecai's deep reluctance. But here's the most important part. Mordecai tells her, do not reveal your nationality or your family background. So Hadassah, who adopts a more Persian-sounding name, Esther, goes to the palace as an undercover agent, hiding her true identity as a Jew. The young women go through a year-long beauty regimen, but Esther's quiet grace and humility stand out. She doesn't demand expensive clothes or lavish treatments. It's just naturally captivating. When it's her turn to meet the king, she wins his heart immediately. Esther is crowned queen. A Jewish girl becomes the most powerful woman in the empire, and no one, not even the king, knows her secret. As Esther settles into her new life, a new player rises to power. His name is Haman, and he's not just a nobleman. He's the new right-hand man to the king, a powerful and arrogant man who expects everyone to bow down to him. The king himself commands everyone to give Haman the respect he's due. Everyone, that is, except for one person, Esther's cousin, Mordecai. Every time Haman walks by the gate, Mordecai refuses to bow or kneel. This was more than just a lack of respect, was an act of defiance, a refusal to honor a man he knew to be a descendant of the Amalekites, a group of people with a long history of enmity toward the Jews. Haman's pride was boundless, and this daily public insult gnawed at him. He was not just angry at Mordecai. He was so consumed with rage that he decided to go one step further. To him, Mordecai was not a single man, but a symbol of his entire people's supposed insolence. He would not be satisfied with the simple death of his enemy. He wanted to wipe out not just Mordecai, but every single Jewish person in the entire kingdom. He was a true supervillain with a genocidal plot. Haman's hatred burned so fiercely that he went to the king with a cunning lie. He framed his terrible plan not as personal revenge, but as a matter of state security. There is a certain group of people scattered throughout your kingdom, he said, whose laws are different from everyone else's. They don't follow the king's edicts, and it is not in your best interest to tolerate them. To seal the deal, he offered the king an immense sum of money, a bribe to compensate for the supposed loss of revenue from the people he intended to annihilate. The king, completely unaware of the true motive and the identity of the people in question, agreed. He gave Haman his official signet ring, a symbol of ultimate authority, and commanded him to write the decree himself. The decree stated that on a specific day, a date chosen by casting lots, a process called Pur, all Jews, men, women, and children were to be annihilated. The king's orders were sent out by couriers on horseback, racing to every corner of the empire. The news spread like wildfire, and panic and mourning swept through the Jewish communities. Mordecai, heartbroken and defiant, dressed in sackcloth and ashes to grieve publicly outside the king's gate. He sent a message to Queen Esther, telling her everything and begging her to go to the king and plead for her people's lives. But Esther was terrified. She sent a message back. "You can't just go to the king. No one can. Anyone who approaches him without being invited is put to death unless the king extends his scepter. It's just been 30 days since he's called for me. I can't risk it." Esther was a queen, but also a prisoner of palace protocol. Mordecai's reply is the most famous line of the story. "Don't think that because you are in the king's palace, you alone will escape. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise from another place. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this." Esther knew he was right. She realized her position wasn't just a twist of fate, it was a divine appointment. She sent a message back saying, "Gather all the Jews in Susa and fast for me. Don't eat or drink for 3 days. I and my servants will also fast. And if I perish, I perish." This is it. The fate of an entire people rests on her shoulders. After 3 days, Esther puts on her royal robes and stands in the king's inner court, waiting. The king sees her and, captivated by her beauty and courage, holds out his golden scepter. She has lived, but Esther doesn't reveal her true purpose right away. Instead, she plays a patient, genius-level long game. She invites the king and Haman to a private banquet. They come, and at the first banquet, the king says, "What's your request, Queen Esther? I'll give you anything, up to half my kingdom." But Esther simply says, "I have one more request. Please come to another banquet tomorrow, just you and Haman." That night, the king can't sleep. He orders his servants to read him the royal chronicles to pass the time. As they read, he hears the story of Mordecai, who years earlier had uncovered a plot to assassinate the king. Mordecai saved his life, and the king realizes with a shock that he was never properly rewarded. The next morning, he asks Haman what should be done for a man the king wants to honor. Haman, assuming the king is talking about him, gives a lavish, detailed response. "Put him in royal robes, have him ride the king's own horse, have a high-ranking official lead him through the city shouting, 'This is what is done for the man the king delights to honor.'" "Excellent," the king says. "Go and do exactly that for Mordecai." Haman is publicly humiliated, forced to parade the man he hates through the streets on his own horse in front of the entire city. At the second banquet, with Haman still seething from his public embarrassment, the king asks Esther again, "What is your request?" This time, she lays it all on the line. If it pleases the king, she says, "My petition is for my life, and my request is for the lives of my people. For my people and I have been sold to be annihilated, killed, and destroyed." The king is stunned. Who would dare do such a thing? Esther points a finger directly at the man at the table. The adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. The king, in a rage, storms out. Haman, in a panic, pleads with Esther for his life. When the king comes back in, he sees Haman groveling by Esther's couch and assumes the worst. A servant then points out the gallows, Haman built to hang Mordecai. The king gives a final order. Hang him on them? The decree to kill the Jews can't be officially revoked, but the king issues a new decree. This new decree allows the Jews to gather and defend themselves on the day of the attack. They rise up against their enemies and are victorious. To celebrate their incredible escape, the Jewish people establish a festival called Purim, where they celebrate their deliverance and retell the story of their brave and beautiful queen, Esther. The story of Esther is a testament to the power of one person to change history. She used her position, her courage, and her quiet intelligence to outsmart a villain and save her people. It's an inspiring tale of how even in the darkest moments, a hero can emerge from the most unlikely of places.